as our discussion asked us to do this week, we had to do a screencast, as you know, and I chose to talk about podcasting. And I chose to talk about podcasting because I didn't really know a lot about it, and so it gave me an opportunity to do a little bit of research. So, what I found out was very interesting, and I will share my thoughts with you all today. So, let's get started. As far as what I knew about podcasting, I knew about it from my very old iPod that I have. The one that you see on the screen here is the exact same iPod that I have. It's a fifth generation one, and now they're probably on like generation 32 or something. I don't know. But basically, I have a very old iPod, and so um, I learned about podcasting because that was one of the things that it said. And so I went to the podcast and I found some free ones. I love books, I love stories. And so I started to subscribe to a, I don't remember his name, but basically it was a person who get sent out podcasts every week or so with another chapter to his book. And so that's pretty much the extent that I knew of podcasting. And so after doing a little bit of research, I came across this website right here. Um, and you see the URL is up here if you decide that you want to go to it to get a little bit of information. But it's just podcasting tools, and it gives you some information, some little tidbits on podcasting. And so basically, it's online audio content delivered through an RSS feed. I still don't know what an RSS feed is, but I'll research that later. But basically, we all know what podcasting is. And I like this website because of this little blurb right here. And it said, listeners can, sorry, not that. There you go. Listeners can retain audio archives to listen to at their leisure. While blogs have turned many bloggers into journalists, podcasting has a potential to turn podcasters, into radio personalities. I just thought that was really cool. The way that technology is, you don't even really have to go to school anymore for a degree. I mean, hopefully people will to, learn and grow and that kind of stuff. But I mean, you really, with technology, there's just so much at our fingertips that I know for me, I'm not even scratching the surface of. And so that's something that I really want to learn more about. Um, but, podcasting is really interesting because you can go and listen to things when you get ready to. It's not like before where, um, someone was coming on the radio or someone was coming on TV, before DVRs and all that good stuff, and you had to be there to listen to it. Well, right now you don't have to do that, and you don't even have to have an iPod or an iPad to listen to podcasts. They have people using websites, that have right here clickable links to audio files and things like that. So there's many different ways that you can actually do podcasts. And I thought that was interesting. So many people are using podcasts now, from motivational speakers to, pastors releasing their sermons on podcasts, which is something that my pastor actually does. And so it's just a really great feature, a great tool that we could actually use. And so after reading about, podcast, I found this picture and I thought it was really funny, but it says, podcasting has evolved, have you? And so that got me to, of course, because of the assignment, thinking about, how can we use this in education? And so, from a teaching perspective, there's so many different reasons or ways that we could use podcasting. Having a topic that we talk about, and maybe we could have the students to listen to the podcast before they even come into class. And once they come into class, instead of spending time teaching our little bit of information or doing our lecturing, they could already have that information from the podcast, which gives us an opportunity to just jump right in and start the conversations, start the discussions and the debates and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really cool. But when you're talking about it from an administrator um, point of view, the first thing that came to my mind that would make such a big difference to me as a teacher, and I think that's really important for us, as um, aspiring leaders in schools, you know, thinking of, well, how could I use this in a way that would impact my teachers or impact the students, not really doing stuff because everyone else is doing it or because it'll make us look good. That stuff really doesn't matter to me anyway. So I would want an administrator to think about how could they impact me as a teacher or even how could they impact the students because that's why we're all there. So for me, the thing that I thought about was revamping faculty meetings. Oh my goodness. Because teachers are so pressed for time, we have so much going on in a day, and faculty meetings for me were just always a disappointment. They just always felt out of place. They just felt to me like it was, you know, I mean, it felt like it was a waste of time to me. So I know that that faculty meetings are mandatory. There's so many hours a year or a month or whatever that everyone has to come together and talk about issues, and I'm all for that. I'm just for it being beneficial. You know, time is very important, and so if you're going to use up my minutes, I need it to be focused on something that's really going to help me. And so, what I found in faculty meetings that I've been in, 20 to 25% of the information that I'm getting that day is pertinent. It's timely, it's useful, it's something that I can actually put into play immediately. Only 20 to 25. Everything else is fluff, you know? And so pertinent info should be given at meetings, and this frees up time for more useful stuff like collaborating on technology. Since that's what the course is about, and we know how important it is, we could use that time for that. Um, Maybe a teacher who is really skilled in an area with technology, get the pertinent stuff out of the way, and then set some time aside for one of the teachers, who's really um, skilled at some kind of technology to come up and to do a presentation and to help everyone else to see how she or he uses it in their classroom and how it's beneficial and how it's reaching the children and that kind of a thing. I know that's what would make a difference to me. So basically 75 to 80% of information that I received in faculty meetings is not timely, it's not pertinent, and basically that kind of information could be shared in a different medium, which is ta-ta podcast. So, so I think it would be an amazing thing for a leader to create podcast that shares the information. And I'm not saying the information I was getting at the faculty meeting it wasn't important, it just wasn't useful at that moment. It should not have taken up so much of my time at that minute. And those types of things could be shared through podcasts. It still has to be shared, but I don't feel like I should have to stay after school another 2 hours or so to get the information if it's not going to benefit me at that moment. I mean, because let's be honest, we get the information and then they give us handouts and it ends up in a folder somewhere and I forget about it. So instead of doing that, maybe the leader could do separate podcasts based on departments. I know we've all been in meetings where information is given out per department. And so they may be talking to the math department, and you just have to sit there and listen, even though you're part of the English department, or whatever the case may be. And so instead of doing that, the leader could set up different podcasts based on the department. So that way when you go and you look and see, okay, which one do I need to listen to, you can only, you can actually pick the one that pertains to you instead of you having to listen through something that is not going to benefit you at all. Um, and so the podcast And if you don't trust your teachers to listen to it on their own, I mean, we have to think about that too. Then maybe that information could be shared at the department meetings. They could even play the podcast at the department meeting. Everyone can listen and take notes at that time. And then it'll be even more beneficial because you're actually with your department, and then you can actually spend some time right then talking about it. And so, to me, I think that this is a really great way to use a podcast. And I'm going to put this in my back pocket because when I'm a leader, this is something that I really think that I would really, really, really want to do. And so I hope you enjoyed this screencast, and I hope it turns out okay. This is my first time, so I can't wait to see how it turns out. And once again, if you listened, I hope it was beneficial to you. So thanks for listening. Have a great day.